Let us explore the rest of the logical functions in Excel. So we have these many, most of them have already been covered. We have discussed about and. Now false is a function here, but what does it do? It just returns the value as false. So often we are better off by just typing the word false rather than using it as a function. It does not make much of a difference here. But at times, if you do not see a feasibility or it's not possible to use the word false and execute your functions or your formulas, then probably the false function can help you in that case. And just like we have the false function here, we also have the true function here. It just returns the value as true. Then if function is something we have discussed multiple times earlier as well. If error we had discussed during basic Excel, and I will revisit it here. If NA it works similar to if error, but only that its scope is limited. We'll discuss about it shortly. Ifs function, I have explained it earlier. Now not function is something different. Let me explain you. But although we have workaround, it's very rarely used. Or function we have discussed. Switch is a new function which was also covered a while back. True function, as I mentioned, just like false, it does nothing but just return the value as true. XOR or exclusive OR has also been covered while discussing about and OR functions. So what do we have left here? We have false, true, not, if error, if any. These are the 5 functions here. And like I mentioned, if you were to select false and just close the brackets, well, it returns the result as false. That's it. And what about the true function? It does the similar job, but it returns the result as true. And these are nothing but in binary form, false denotes 0 and true denotes 1. Now, what about the not function? The not function is something when you test a condition, if the result is true, the not function returns as false. Let me show you how. Let's say we have x and y. Okay, x is denoted by number 5 and y by 8. Now, is x greater than y? I would like to test that. So I would say equals 5 greater than 8. It's false. But what if I do not want to see exactly the same result? I mean to say, what if I want to negate this answer? If this is false, I want this to be true. And if the result is true, then I want this to be false, the other way around. Okay, just the opposite. So in order to do that, I have a not function in Excel. And then I compare 5 greater than 8. I close the bracket. And here it is. 5 is not greater than 8, so it results true. And then under the not function. So how does it get? Not, and you have true. It was a false earlier. 5 is not greater than 8. So if it returns false, the not negates it and converts it to true. Likewise, if not, you have true within it, it negates it to false. That's the job of the not function. Now, where can you use this? Well, at times, in case there would be times wherein, so in this case, let's say you want to execute something when it is false, but do nothing when it is true. So here I would say if not, I did not use an equal sign. Let me try that. I say if and the not function 5 greater than 8. If not, then execute. I would say execute, else stop. Now what would be the result? Take a guesswork. This results in false, and under the not function this converts to true, and since it's true over here by default, Excel will execute, or the if function will execute and display this. Had I not used the not function, it would have returned as stop. Now what if I want to just check not equal to? Is 5 equal to 8? Well, it's a false. Now what if I do not want to use the if function, but I want to see is 5 equal to 8. So we have one way approach would be to use the not equal to sign. This indicates not equal to sign. This indicates equals. And if you want to show is 5 not equal to 8, then I use the less than sign and greater than sign over here. In Excel, it indicates not equal to. Hit enter and you get true as the result. That means they are not equal. So this is one approach, or else I would say not 5 equals 8. It returns the result as true. Now, there are very rare scenarios and rare occasions where you might want to use this not function. Well, most of the time, you do have better options over there. It's very rare scenarios that are very limited scope for usage of this not function. Just as you would have noticed in the switch function and the ifs function, if none of the criterias match, then towards the end, you have a default value that to be returned. So even in that time, you are better off without the not function there. The key purpose of not function is just to negate the result of the logical test. Now, if error function is generally, let's say if there is an error here. For example, I want to divide 200 by 0. You remember it gives you a div 0 error, and I know that currently it's showing as a 0, but maybe it exactly is not a 0. Let's say this cell, I want to divide it by this cell. The formula is perfect, but it's giving me a div 0 error. The moment I enter number 10, it's perfect. So at such times, I would want this to be encapsulated within the if error function. And then in double quotes, I would mention what to do. I might say just put a 0, or if it's a number, I don't need the double quotes unless I'm typing some text. So it's a 0. The moment I hit 10, we get the answer. If it is 5, we still get the answer. But if it is blank, it's a 0. Now, if NA error does the same job, but the only difference is if error function is quite versatile. It responds to any form of hash errors that you get. But in case of if NA, it returns the value you specify if the expression resolves to hash NA error. Otherwise, returns the result of the expression. That means it will only handle or deal with the error hash NA. It is least concerned about the div 0 error. So let me show you. If hash NA, I say 200 divided by 0, and I put value if NA, just put a 0. You see it gives you a div 0 error because it's not a NA error. So this if NA function fails to capture this and fix it. And that's the reason we have the if error function. And if error function also handles the NA errors. So at times this is redundant, I would say.